So what'd you think of that?
Man, it was a lot of fun. I kept waiting to get some sort of nervous or something, but I remember saying that was kind of one of the reasons why I stopped fighting was it was hard for me to get a rise. But the last 2 fights here have been just about enjoying the process, and I didn't feel dead, but I didn't feel nervous or anything. I was just enjoying it, ready to perform, do what I love to do. It's been a minute. I mean, it hasn't been that long. It's been 2.5 years, and I've been in the gym, but it really was fun to get out there again and feel the crowd.
They showed you backstage when Josh won. Did that pump you up and get you going? And then obviously the arena was cheering for you.
Yeah, obviously having the team do so well tonight was awesome. But at the end of the day, I always tell the guys you can't, get confidence or get deflated by other people's performances. We share that energy. Energy is contagious, but you always have to have your own performance out there. And I did that tonight, and man, it was so awesome to see the guys have success, and feel for the guys that didn't have success on our team as well, because we all trained so hard.
46 seconds. Was that surprising to you? I mean, did you think you'd take less than a minute?
I don't really get on the specifics when I start visualizing. I visualize my best performance. I was taught that by a sports psychologist, not about something in particular happening, about just being the best me. But at the end of the day, that's a nice way to make some cash and go home and kiss the baby.
Congrats on the bonus.
Thank you.
Yeah, congrats. A lot of fans. I talked to one fan who hadn't seen you fight before, so he was extraordinarily excited to see you this evening. But he didn't get to see you for very long. You got that fight so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is on that. I'd like to give guys a longer show, but at the end of the day, we have one objective in there, and I'm always with the same objective. That's to finish the fight as soon as possible. Ricky Simone is a very tough kid. I really like what he's all about, to be honest. He's a guy that I know trains really hard. He takes the sport super serious. He believes in himself. He's got a strong skill set. But, there are levels to this thing. I retired the year I fought for a world championship against one of the best guys ever, Dom Cruz. Came off a big win against Brad Pickett, who has a win over Demetrius Johnson, who's one of the best fighters of all time. I mean, there's levels to this sport, and I think Ricky can get there, but right now it's not his time.
So could this night be any more perfect? I mean, you come out here to your home crowd, everybody's going bananas before the fight. You get an excellent finish over a tough, dangerous guy. You get the bonus. You're probably completely uninjured. I mean, what can you say about that?
Man, what a perfect night, and you don't always get to have them like that. I remember we had a night here with Joseph Benavidez in the house where I had a big win, and then he was next and had a big loss. And he had done so many great things in that camp and felt so great, and it just didn't go his way that night. And so it goes both ways, but for me, I'm super fortunate. I feel like, the world brought the energy. I'll take that from my boy Diego. Diego said he's harnessing the universe's power and things are going to happen, and I did the same thing tonight.
Yeah, Cody was in here earlier tonight, and he had mentioned he was the only one out of the gym who told you not to take the fight. Not because he didn't think you could do it, but he just said, look, what else do you have to prove, and this is a dangerous activity. You just don't want to see you get hurt. How did you interpret that?
Cody's my boy, man. And to be honest, I've been in the gym. Cody's had a lot going on with all the different injuries and things like that, and I've been in the gym every single day, and so I knew how I felt. And so I just put him to ease and just, said, hey, bro, trust me, I'm feeling good. And I appreciate, Cody's so protective of me, which I appreciate. He's like...
he says all love.
Yeah, of course it's all love. And it's a conversation we had over text messages, and it ends up just us talking shit to each other, and it was fun. So I think, he said, I looked out after the fight, he said, you still got it. I said, that's right, brother, So I'm excited for Cody to come back, too. He came in and worked with me 2 days for practice. And oh my gosh, he's incredible. Luckily I had Song the whole camp. We did our camps together. And then Cody came in for 2 days, and I was like, he just has to decide he wants it, and he's right back in the mix.
You were talking to a lot of athletes who were in their 40s and how they handled it.
Right.
If somebody were to ask you, hey, I'm 40, and what should I look for? What would you tell them now after your today?
Well, not everybody's the same. That's what I said. I said in the aftermath that, Dana was probably old at 40, and that's probably why he's said that in the past. But I am not old at 40. My parents have been feeding me bee pollen and vinegar and raw apple cider honey vinegar all over my body and garlic and beet juice and all this stuff since I was a little kid. And I'm made for longevity. I'm a late bloomer. My body is exactly the same as it was when I was, about 17 years old as far as the look and composition and everything. So that's in the bag. I mean, as you age, of course, and the more you hammer on something, things will loosen up. So I'm aware of that. I train really smart. As an older fighter, I would give specific advice. But the guys I talked to, Murilo Bustamante, he spoke about how not ever doing any PEDs was a massive part of his success, fighting into late 40s. I talked to Dan Henderson with the same scenario. My buddy Iron Cowboy, James Lawrence, he's 50 marathons in 50 days in 50 consecutive states. I've hired him to come speak to our team on occasion and got his mindset a little bit. And Roy Jones Jr., he's my favorite fighter of all time. I've become friends with him and got to see his mentality and consistency, self-belief, continuing to improve and being there. That's the key.
So now that you have your win, do you want to keep going, or is this a one-off kind of fight? And how often do you see yourself fighting if you want to keep going?
I really got to take a look. I mean, I definitely feel like, of course, I'm coming off a big win. You feel like you want to get right back in there, but go talk to my family, talk to the UFC brass, see what kind of opportunities are out there. They had thrown out some interesting fights for this thing and just settled on Ricky Simone. But that's a good way to make some cash. I'm also a business guy, and the margins in fighting are pretty good. It's you don't have a ton of overhead, so that's always interesting.
You had the WC belt. You successfully defended it 6 times.
I don't know,
but a lot.
Yeah.
How important is it to you? I mean, do you ever want to try to get that UFC belt after the fight? Bisping was really trying to lobby, hey, let's have you get that title fight because he got the belt late.
Yeah. Well, I left the sport after I had lost a decision to Dominic Cruz for the belt. So I'm just always, when I think of doing anything, it's always with the belt and being the best in mind. I mean, I just do that. So that's the only thing I think about. And I stepped in here, and people are like, why would you take this fight? This guy's 15-1 and blah, 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 this. And I'm like, if I can't beat this guy, then it doesn't matter anyways. So that's the way I looked at this. And Dana knows I think like that. That's why Dana loves me and knows that I'm one of the troopers and one of the reasons why I've gotten such big opportunities, because I'll fight guys that doesn't make sense for me. I've done it my entire career, and then I'll get those big opportunities. That's it.
And you said coming back because you have that itch. Is part of that itch that you still want the belt, though?
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, and especially they're starting to pop these guys. You saw it. You hear backside, like the back end of like the intermixes of what's going on, and you hear like how guys are cheating the system and this and that. And I'm just thinking, I'm a clean athlete. I have been my whole life. I've always preached that. I just live like that. And so it was frustrating for me, especially in retirement. You don't have, the man with the mic dictates the story, and I haven't really had a mic on purpose for the last 2.5 years. But you just hear that all this stuff of what's going on in the sport, and it's frustrating, especially as an older athlete, knowing that guys are cheating the system. So it's kind of nice to see they're catching some of the guys, but I know it's still out there. And then you look back and they say that everybody's on. I think 2 analysts of the sport, really credible guys, Nick and Nate Diaz, said everybody's on steroids. and I started thinking, man, look back at the guys I've fought and just know that I've fought over and over again for world championships. That's what I do, and that's the kind of caliber fighter I am.
So this card was a showcase for your team, almost designed just for that purpose. Excellent performance tonight. You talked about mentoring some of these younger kids, train under you. Who gave you that outlook? Was there a particular person or persons who mentored you when you were that age?
I've had so many great coaches, and the coaches that are the best coaches are the selfless coaches, and they're not in it for themselves. They're not hiring themselves a photographer and this thing and getting in fights with other coaches because they want credit of this and that. You know, my coaches were wrestling coaches. You know, Coach Lenny Zaleski and Coach Brown and you know, the list goes on. Coach Selter in high school and years and years and years of wrestling coaches that don't, there's zero reward in wrestling. There's no money. You're starving. You're beat up. It's like, you know, so that's the coaching that I come from. And so I try to embody a healthy family with that kind of mentality that's helped me out throughout time, you know, and so, you know, mentoring guys is mostly just perspective stuff. It's mind stuff. There's a lot of great technique, ton of great technique out there. You can get it on the internet these days at the drop of a hat. But really, somebody teaching the mentality and the lifestyle and the self-belief and the constantly getting better. That's the stuff that has to be nailed in, and you have to call people on their follies and things like that. And that's what we're trying to create in our team.
We know UFC offered you to fight Chrome Grace, and he said no. Why do you think he said no? Is that what it was on top?
Yeah.
Why do you think he said no? And do you think it would be an interesting fight? Would you fight him if he says yes?
Yeah, you know, I've known Kron throughout the years just briefly. Like I said, I have a relationship with the Diaz brothers, and I think he might be there full time. Now, I'm not sure. I thought he had a school somewhere else. That might be part of the reason why. We've always kind of had a good relationship. And but as far as, I mean, talk about a legendary name, and then he's accomplished a lot in the jiu-jitsu world, and he's a tough fighter. That's 145 pounds. You know, I was surprised how easy my weight came down. I'd definitely be as a size disadvantage, but it'd also be nice not having to cut that weight. So I would consider that if that was the case. But right now, I think there's a lot happening at the weight class, and I had been offered a couple fights before jumping back in and getting in my headspace that I was going to compete, and they were all at 45s because I told Shelby, you know, hey, I'm heavy, and so he kept offering me these fights. So when I decided I wanted to compete again, I just got myself in really good shape because I want to put my best foot forward always.
I'm sure there was a part of you that wanted to go out and assess the performance that you had in there to kind of gauge what you want to do for the future, but you had such a good performance that you really didn't give yourself too much chance to really evaluate. Yeah. But were there things that felt different than what you remember? Was it the speed of the fight different? Was there anything that just didn't quite perform like what you remembered it from the last time you fought?
You know, there wasn't at all, and you get to test that in practice. That's the greatest part about having the best team in the world at your fingertips is you can jump in and go with, we have multiple world champion jiu-jitsu players and Olympic level wrestlers and high level world champion kickboxers and boxers in the gym every single day, like a lot of them. So, you know where you stand. And I also am a guy that tapes my sparring. So I literally took a flight to China or to Singapore and watched 4.5 hours of old technique, sparring, and everything else I had stored on my phone, and compared it to sparring now, and it's the same. So, you know, I'm a realistic guy. I don't like, you know, I'm not delusional yet. Give me some time.
All right, thanks,
Awesome.
Scott.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Faber.